Hi, Melissa.
Mm.
There's another familiar face. Well, Andrea, I don't know if you can see it or not, but 10 so far have joined
Okay,
us.
I do not see a number, but I will.
I'll take care of all that stuff. Nobody should have to be admitted, but stranger things have happened. Oh,
Can you hear me?
Yes, Ken, of
Yes,
course
we
we can
can,
hear you. Yes.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Which part's exciting?
And you can hear me and everything, you know?
Everything. It's modern technology is great.
Yeah. Well, you know, you retire and, you know, you become an old dog, you don't keep up, you know.
Oh, old dogs are the best. And then- That's what I wanted.
I am
I've never
sorry, I'm having a problem with my camera here. This is Warren. I'm working on it. Something is not working right here.
Warren, as long as you can see our screen and hear us, as much as we'd love to see you, we'll forgive you if you can't get it working. There are
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm working on it still. I
quite a
can see.
few
I can
with
see
their-
the.
Okay, good. There's going to be so many, we're not going to be able to get everybody on the screen. You know, which is a first. And Andrea, we counted about 40 tonight. Is that it?
I believe so. Dina has the latest roster, but by far the bulk of the gang is going to be here tonight versus Saturday.
Okay. Well, 16 here so far with a couple of minutes to go. Or on your camera's working. Good to see you.
Sure.
Looks like Rich, brought his bald eagle tonight. That's pretty cool. I assume that's a photo. Hi, Dana. Two Ferguson's in a, you see that? We've got a side
everybody.
Ferguson. Yeah. Couple of
Good to see
Fergusons.
you.
There's Dennis, Elliot. Recognize so many faces, but I haven't seen you in a while. So it's good to see you all in one place.
I'm the opposite. I'm new to the role, so I've seen your names on emails and spreadsheets, but I'm looking forward to seeing your faces tonight.
that we start sharing slides anyway. Hi, Tara. Good evening.
Right.
Don, are you driving? You're muted. That's okay. Keep both hands on the wheel. Laura, I thought you were out. You're here. You made it. Good to see you. There's Daphne. Awesome. Rich.
Ooh.
David McCray. Is he on tonight? Is David here tonight? Let's see him yet. Seen Brandon Fry in a long time. Good to see you again, Brandon. Fred. Like a reunion. I know most of you are muted, and at some point we'll ask you probably to mute. And we're at 7:01. Folks are still chiming in. We're up to about 37, 38. So we're going to try to start here quickly. I'm going to hand this over to Andrea here in just a second. And just someone give me a thumbs up. Is everyone able to see everyone at this point? Or are you just looking at the screen? You can see everyone, right? Great.
No, I can see the screen.
Only the screen? You can't see everyone?
Only the screen.
Only the screen. Oh, okay. It's just us. seeing
I can see whoever's talking, but
I can
just
see you, Chris.
one person.
it. It sounds
We can
like-
see
Yeah, that's the
you.
way
I
I
could see
am
like
too.
4 or 5 people, that's it.
Okay, just wanted to
Yeah,
know.
I see one person at a time.
Okay, so Andrea is talking right now. Does everyone see me and the actual screen, the
Yes.
slide deck?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's the important thing, is that the speaker is visible.
So yeah, we're 7:02. We've got 41 on board, and I would say that
Yes.
folks would probably like us to get started.
Absolutely. Well, welcome everyone. We are thrilled to have our largest Coaches Corner ever. It's hard to believe that just a few short years ago, it was really just Chris and a couple other coaches. And now we have close to 80 coaches around the country. And I just talked to 5 more today. So we are growing rapidly. And as I don't need to tell you our mission, but we will keep to an hour tonight. I just want to start out by saying thank you. I know how busy you are. I know that, we've never really asked you to make this an absolute priority, but you'll see when we go through the material that in order for us to deliver the quality of service that we all want to deliver to our clients, training and updates and just keeping you in the know on the latest and the greatest is really important. So we're going to be really doing even more of just short updates, quick training, honoring your time, being as efficient as possible so that we can get you on with your evening. As you know, I'm Andrea Jarvis, as I think you know, and I'll share a little bit about myself in just a second, but if you can go back to that other slide, Chris. I don't need to remind you that, our mission is to provide the highest quality financial coaching. Our clients are at the heart of what we do. I've had the advantage of being able to talk to more than 100 of our clients because for a while there, I was the sole financial paraplanner. And it's been truly one of the most gratifying volunteer experiences of my life. I hadn't even done anything yet. I'm just kind of getting to know them and typing it up for you as the rest of our paraplanners do. But they've been, so thankful, just so grateful, even when we start, that there are people that know what you guys know, that are willing to take your time to come alongside them during one of the most confusing and upsetting times of their life. This would be hard stuff for them to figure out, even if they weren't going through what they're going through. So for you to come alongside them. Our goal is to provide coaching to 300 women and men this year, newly widowed, defined as less than 2 years. Last year we coached 200, so that's a big 50% increase. And again, that's why these update sessions are so important, because as we grow, we're getting better and better all the time. Next slide. Okay, there's me. As I mentioned, I've been with Wings for a while, 3 years. I spent most of that time as the financial paraplanner. You've probably seen my name on some of your introductory notes. I'm not a widow, but having met with so many now, I do have a clear appreciation for what they care about, how they feel, what they're going through. There's really no typical client, and I think you'll see that too once you've been with us for a while. When I log on to my Zoom, other than the demographics in their financial wellness check, I have no idea age, manner of passing, financial situation. We have everything from people who are barely eligible for social services to wealthy widows, and all of them are being served by you. So thank you. I'm not a certified financial planner either. I do have my MBA. Most of my career has been in financial services, but I do have access to Chris Daly, who obviously is a CFP, and then one of your peers, Daphne, who hopefully can raise her hand, is going to be working with me as we run into CFP specific subject matter expertise stuff. So I have access to that as well. The easiest way to reach me, everyone, I don't work full time. I'm about half-time. So email, I check it all the time. If you call me, I sometimes don't know it's you, so it often will go into voicemail. So even texting is better than calling at this point until I get to recognize your numbers. And so before we jump into the agenda, just one other quick little known fact about me, other than what I just shared, is I just started playing pickleball 9 months ago. I am addicted, and I also like my daily Wordle. Next slide, Chris. So this is our agenda for today. Thank you so much for stepping forward to use your skills and talents to serve the widows. I know that you have a lot of different opportunities to use your skills, and you've chosen Wings for Widows, and we're just so very grateful that you have chosen to do that, and hope that with every engagement, you experience some of the gratitude that I have felt just in doing the introductory call. We're going to talk a little bit about the perfect engagement. We've been doing this for a while now, and we do have a good sense of what best practices are. The conversation with our widows isn't always the same as a regular client because they're in a different place and they have different hot topics and different needs right away. So Chris has worked very hard on devising a personalized, customized process flow for this particular demographic. And a lot of what we talk about tonight is going to be against those ideas and best practices. And that's why we feel they're so important. There are lots of other ways for you to get involved. Some of you want to get more involved than just your coaching, and we'll talk a little bit about what that might look like. It's kind of exciting. Other things that are coming up. We do have a fairly tight agenda because we do want to keep respect for your time. So we're not going to be taking live questions unless we have time at the end, in which case we'll do a Q&A. If we don't, you can either use the chat function on your screen, and we'll have those to respond to via email, or just send me an email and I'll make sure that either I get back to you or I find the right resource for you. So before I turn it over to Chris, I do have one other important thing. Is Arash Navi on the call? Can you raise your hand? Yes.
Hi there.
Just wanted to say a special shout out to you because I do believe it's your birthday, correct?
That's right. Thank you very much.
All right. Good. Well, that's impressive. You're not eating cake. You're here with us for an hour tonight. So happy birthday to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No further ado, I'll turn this over to Chris Bentley, who of course is our founder and our CEO, and pretty much works. I'm running around behind him all the time. Can't even, don't stand a chance of keeping up with him. He's working all the time, thinking about how to better serve our widows and really you guys too, because our widows don't get served without you. And if you're not having a supported good experience where you have the tools you need and you feel like you're confident of what the processes are or whatever, then our widows aren't going to feel that love. So you are at the core of what we do because you are on the front end of things with our clients. So I'll turn it over to Chris.
Thanks, Andrea. Appreciate that. And good evening, everyone. Again, great to see so many faces I'm familiar with, and then great to see new faces too. We're going to talk about the new guidebook, right? Second edition of the guidebook. Hopefully you all received it last week, and maybe you've even had a chance. I know Larry's already sent me some edits, so I know that most of you, hopefully all of you, received that and have that close to you as we talk about that, and that'll be the bulk of what we're going to do tonight. But it's just one cog in the wheel of success, right? We talk about pre-engagement and engagement and post-engagement. You know, we have a financial planning engagement here that we've compressed into 4, 5, 6 sessions. We attempt to cover an awful lot in those meetings. Sometimes it feels overwhelming, and sometimes it is, not only for you, but for the client. But so it is important, right? The guidebook's important. We're going to talk about tonight, but again, it's one piece of the puzzle, right? Of the perfect coaching engagement, or at least what we started to refer to as the perfect engagement. What is that? It's just frankly what we expect or hope that you're providing, or that the organization is providing each and every client consistently. And basically, these are the watch outs, these are the milestones. They all work together to enhance the relationship that you have with your client and for the client's experience with us, right? So this is just doing all the right things, and it's broken down into pre-engagement. There's a couple, 4 items under engagement and then post-engagement. So let's talk about that. So timely scheduling, right? What is that? Well, the perfect engagement begins with signing client agreements properly, right? And contacting your client within 1 week of assignment, right? That's a request that we make of you. Some occasions that goes 2 weeks, or we check in because we use alerts. We haven't heard anything, then maybe we'll check back in and it's been 2 weeks or 3 weeks, right? Promptly means 1 week of assignment, schedule session 1, right? Now your scheduling session 1, that may be out a week or 2. You're basing that on the client's availability. But getting the paperwork back to us and contacting the client is number 1 here, okay? Suitable prep. How many times have you heard, right? Have we heard in our business, know your client? My gosh, FINRA's got a rule, right? Know your client. And it's no different here. You've got to thoroughly review that financial wellness check information. 30 questions and a whole lot more information there as well. But 30 questions that essentially mimic the guidebook. So if they've done really poorly in the banking questions, guess what? You probably are going to need to spend extra time in banking in the guidebook. You probably didn't know that there was that relationship, but it's not perfect. But we try to pull 2 questions out of every topic. There's 14 topics and there's 30 questions. So it lines up pretty well. Know your client. And suitable prep doesn't mean just looking at the financial wellness check. Those paraplanners, we call them paraplanners. To the client facing, we call them financial care team members. I know it's a lot easier to call them paraplanners. You're used to that, but they go through a lot of work to understand the client, to screen the client, to prep the client, and then all that information is made available to you. So if you don't get into your confidential folder, you know, well before your first meeting to really understand who you're going to be meeting with, then that's not a perfect engagement. You need to get into that confidential folder well in advance. I used to go through the financial wellness check and circle the weaknesses because I knew I needed to attack those during our engagement, okay? Setting course. There's a lot to accomplish in session 1 in particular, but also in session 4. And if you get behind in session 1, you're playing catch up the whole rest of the time. And what does that mean? If you're trying to keep it to 4 sessions, that means you're going to leave something out. And it could be really important. Just because it's not in her hot topics doesn't mean it's not really important. It could cause her a lot of angst later on. So being prepared, right, pre-engagement really helps with setting the course during the engagement. And setting course is about breaking the ice, right? You can't just dive in and start asking financial questions, right? You need to break the ice. You need to introduce yourself. You need to summarize what the engagement's going to look like in broad strokes. You don't want to spend an hour doing that, but set course. What are we going to be doing together? And hey, let's start with those things that are keeping you awake at night. One of the changes in the guidebook is we've moved that to topic 1. So it's a really nice segue from summarizing what you're going to do and then jumping in and providing that value right away. So the next item is address hot topics and pull credit reports. I don't know about you, but when I was an advisor, I retired last June, if you didn't know, to run Wings full time. But as an advisor for 15 years, I don't think I ever pulled a credit report for a client. I'm not sure I ever pulled my credit report. But if you're not pulling credit reports during session 2, you have absolutely got to do this. It is so valuable to the client, and and we found that about 90% of the clients do not pull their credit reports, don't know how to pull their credit reports. In fact, have never pulled their credit reports. You've got to do that with the client. So addressing the hot topics, which is session 1, and pulling the credit report in session 2 are absolutely critical. And here's the other great thing that those do for you. They build trust immediately. Let's think about this. A perfect stranger is entrusting you with their financial life, and they've met you for how long? 90 minutes or less. I mean, it's about building trust these first 2 sessions. So we put hot topics. If you address some of those and provide some value right up front, they're already going, saying to themselves, you can hear it, right? You've probably been told this. Oh, I'm so glad we talked about this. Boy, is that a weight off my shoulders, right? And so now you got them. They're yours. They're yours for the whole engagement, right? Same thing with pulling the credit report. When you do that and you go through that with them and the decedents, and you find problems that you can fix, that you identify, they love you because, again, you're providing value in a way that nobody's ever done that for them before. So if you're not used to pulling credit reports, get some practice. It's outlined in the guidebook how to do it. If you haven't done it in a while, please do it. Learn how to do it very quickly and efficiently with your clients. It will pay huge dividends. Number 5, we're going to talk about this much more, but using the guidebooks, or sorry, number 6, using the guidebooks and all 12 checklists. We'll talk about that next. And then number 7, 4 to 5 sessions, 90 minutes. Look at I have spent dozens and dozens of sessions with some clients. Usually you're not going to get those clients, right? 4 to 5 sessions will normally do it. Remember, we're the emergency room for financial trauma. We're not doing retirement planning here. We're stopping the bleeding. We're finding out what her hot topics are. We're trying to assure her of what that she has some understanding of her current financial situation, and then what her options are and some of the things she needs to do. That's still a lot to do in 5 sessions. 4 sessions minimum, 5 sessions normally. And you know what? If you got to go 6 sessions, well, then you go 6 sessions or more. Do the right thing for the client. These are just guidelines. I don't know if I wanted to say anything more there, except that there are times when you send in the outcome report, and I'm sure, Andrea, we all appreciate you being honest on those. But when you say that your client, I worked with this client, Mary, and we worked for 2 sessions, and she's good to go. And then we look back at Mary and see that she had a financial wellness check score of 60, which means there was a whole lot to cover there. That's a red flag. There is no way you can cover all the checklists in 2 sessions. You just can't. And even folks with scores of 90 or better, I assure you, if you go through the checklist, you will find other areas, you'll uncover other areas that they haven't taken care of. And so think about 4 to 5 sessions, 90 minutes each or more. That will provide them the experience that we've promised them. Number 8, we're in a post-engagement. Provide the client a summary and action items. Sometimes I feel like we should script this out for you because there is a lot to do in session 4, right? Or session 5. You've got all of the topics, then you're also trying to close down shop with them and encourage them to take the survey when Wings for Widows send them the survey, so we can provide you some feedback. So it's important during this particular part of the engagement that you provide the client a summary. And I'll tell you why, right? It goes back to, tell them what you're going to say it, and then tell them what you told them. It's sort of that idea. You set the table in the beginning, close it right at the end. you know, it's been great working with you, Mary. You know, we accomplished this, this, and this. You still got a few things to go. Here are the action items. Are you, you know, get some confirmation on that. A survey is going to be coming out, you know, blah, blah, blah. Close it up, right? Don't leave them hanging. And always, always, if you don't know this, they can always come back with questions. They can always come back for questions, either to us or to you. I would make that open. Many of them don't. They have the guidebook. Maybe they're in a place where they are comfortable looking it up themselves, but it's okay if they come back and ask us questions. And then lastly, the perfect engagement, a timely outcome report, and the reason that's important is because, again, if you let it go 2 or 3 weeks, we don't send the client the feedback survey, which is so important. It's where we can provide you some feedback. Our financial care team gets feedback, and that's where we get our testimonials for marketing purposes. So if we don't hear from you for 2 or 3 weeks and you kind of forget to send in the outcome report, we'll remind you. But when you get that reminder, please send it in, because we don't send anything to the client until we get that. So again, just being timely in the communications. Okay.
And I want to add to that too, that outcome report is the main way that I know how it went for you. I read every single word, every suggestion you have. You know, what could you have used that you didn't have? Any concerns you have. If there are concerns, I sometimes ask you to set up some time with me. So that's your way to communicate to me as a coach and to the organization, really, just how you're feeling about how it went, what sort of outcomes the client had. So we kind of know what's happening out there. And then finally, it tells me if you're available or not. And if, for instance, you need to going on a 3-month safari or whatever, just please hold off on any new clients until September 1. And then I put that in my spreadsheet, and you won't get that. So it's an important feedback tool for me as well.
It closes the loop on a perfect
Right.
engagement. So thanks, Andrea. Yeah, it's so important. And then Andrea, if there's something in there that I should know, she flips them to me all the time, right? Like somebody's asking for this tool, or somebody's wondering about this. Somebody has an edit. Well, I want to hear that, right? We want to give you the very best possible tools. So Andrea shares those with me as well. So we really appreciate those. And some of you take just a ton of time explaining how it went, and we just love hearing that. We may not reach out every time to you personally, but we do read them. So thank you. Anything else, Andrea? Okay. Well, this is what you're all here for tonight. I'm pretty happy with this one. The first one I wrote over COVID, I had it built all the checklists, and we had kind of time tested the checklist in 2019. And we were going to spend another couple of years testing everything. But when the pandemic hit and we suddenly had to go virtual, it's like, oh no, we've got to put something in everybody's hands so that there's some common bond between coach and client. And so I wrote the first book in about 90 days. And then I've had a couple of years to write this one, and I'm collecting information along the way. So I'm really glad that that is done, and we'll probably stick with this other than some minor edits. It won't change too much. But before I get into this, I first want to shout out, it was great to see Laura Richards is on. I think Kevin Lamb is next, is Saturday, and then Otto Rivera. I'm not sure if Otto is on, but all 3 of them volunteered to contribute to the guidebook. And each took a different section and helped me with that. And I incorporated probably 95% of everything they gave me, if I didn't already have it, there. So it was great. And I just want to give those 3 in particular a shout out for their help. And they're actually, if you open up I guess 2 pages in, they're listed there. There's a thank you to them in the guidebook. So the next guidebook, when Andrea asks you for input, that'd be great. You know, I love getting more eyes on the book, the better. And I was going to save this for later, but I already heard from Larry Albert. He already had a couple of edits, and one of them I knew about, but Larry, I didn't know about the miss in the form, the missing utilities insurance in the form. So awesome. So folks, if you are using the book and you just see a miss, circle it and circle back with Andrea and or me, and let me know that and we'll save that. We have a little edit file, and we'll make sure that gets corrected. Okay. So again, appreciate all of that and future feedback as well. So as you just heard, the guidebook is not an optional tool, right? It's part of the perfect engagement. It is the only tool, right, that you should be using during coaching engagements. You don't need planning software. If you're using Navaplan or Money Guide Pro, you're missing the point of what we do. We are not providing retirement planning. And to use the software for really something else, I mean, yes, you can get a net worth out of that, but I just don't see it. I don't see the need for it. Otherwise, we would have rolled it out. Pretty old school here. I suppose you could always go back to it to do some proofing, but that's not what we do. Again, we're about stopping the bleeding, providing a window of clarity around their current situation. We don't need retirement planning software to do that. You can use a napkin, right, to compute cash flow, which is pretty critical to do with our clients. So everything you need to know and review with the client should be in the guidebook. I would venture to say it's in the guidebook. If you need a worksheet, we have those too. You'll hear about those. There's a whole plethora of resources waiting for you and available to you all. And we shared that with you in the orientation, and we'll share it again with you tonight. You don't have to recreate forms. It takes too much of your time to reinvent the wheel. So please use what we have, and in particular, the New Widow's Guidebook to Financial Wellness. Look at, there's 4 reasons we use this book. It's not because I wrote it, okay? That's not important at all. It's just that it provides a consistent, exceptional client experience if everyone is reading off the same sheet of music, right? If everyone's using the same roadmap, probably a pretty decent roadmap, right? It ensures that we cover the topics most relevant to widows and that frankly, nothing gets missed. And that's why the checklists are so important, right? So that nothing gets missed. Provides you a reference or resource on topics that you may not be familiar with. I have heard so many times, Chris, I didn't know that. I'm glad that was in there. I mean, this is something I can take back to my practice. You know, that's a great way to kind of think about assets or estate planning or banking, right? The order that banking should be done. I'd never really thought about that before. I get that all the time. So the book, what's in here, was written for widows, not for all of your clients. It was written for a widowed person. So there's probably material in here that you're not as familiar with. And then, of course, it provides the client with a resource when you're no longer with them, right? So it's really important that while you are with them, that you're getting your client comfortable with it by digging into it, right, with them. Here's just a few points on the guidebook that I think about, right? Think about this. If you don't use the guidebook, why should the client? If you don't use the guidebook, why should your client? Do you let the client tell you what to talk about? This would be a great breakout session because I love to talk about this. Yes, it's important to listen to the client, but you let them tell you what to talk about, or do you take charge as the professional, drive the conversation, and cover all the checklists? Our clients don't drive the engagement. We're sensitive to our clients, but they don't drive the engagement. They're with you in a coaching engagement because they trust you as the professional to drive the engagement and using the guidebook as your common roadmap. So again, not everything may apply, but everything needs to be addressed. For example, I don't know how many times I've talked about this, but if a client says, "Oh, I don't have any banking questions," we can just skip that. Do you? Do you just skip it? Do you skip that checklist? I hope not. Do you use the checklist to fact check the client, what the client is telling you? I do. You simply respond, "Hey, that is great to hear, Mary. Let me just ask you a few questions about that." And I promise you, what you'll likely discover is that there is much more that can or should be done. Again, we say it all the time. Remember, a client doesn't know what they don't know. You're the boss. Take charge. And finally, I've said this before, it's worth saying again, you cannot complete a coaching engagement in less than 4 sessions. Most deserve 5 or more. 4 sessions is a minimum. These are guidelines, but it's a minimum. Hitting all the checklists is the goal. And again, that takes about 4 sessions to do, okay? As I've said before, we cram a lot into session 4. So if you need to go to a session 5, that's perfectly okay. All right, let's get into the book. We're halfway through our hour and we're in really good shape here. So let me click the slide and we'll pop into, if you've got your book close, I would just invite you to flip through it if you haven't already. If you have, you probably already know all this, but we'll walk through it. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here. I would encourage you, right? Know your client, know your tools, read the book, okay? There is a lot of good stuff in here. I think I got most of it right, Larry? There's a lot of good stuff in here. So I highly encourage you, before you take on your next client, read the book. And this year I added illustrations, so it's actually a little bit more fun to read. We actually have a license through that illustrator. I'm really excited about it. We have it for 5 years, and I just love the illustration. So we got a pretty good deal on it. So anyways, illustrations in the book. And then every progress checklist got revised. If you think you know them by heart, think again. Review the checklist. And you can lay the book side by side if you want to. I wouldn't encourage it. It's a lot of waste of time. So if you open the book, expanded table of contents, I tried to make it a little easier to find things. And in this edition, the page numbers are actually in the right spot. They're on the outside of the pages. So it's a lot easier to find than crammed into the margin on the inside, which was the printing error, and we never corrected it. So pages on the outside, expanded table of contents, easier to find things. And you'll notice that we added a glossary. We'll get to that later. So session 1. Already mentioned this, we moved the hot topics from last to first. Very first thing, it's a great segue, building trust right in the beginning. It's just the way it should be done. And I would just mention around hot topics, you don't have to solve them all. You only got 90 minutes. You don't need to solve, there may be 5 hot topics there. It may take you several sessions to get to them all. But if you can solve one, particularly if it's the first one or the biggest one, and if you see a number of hot topics, you can say, let's just review your hot topics. You know, I understand you're kind of concerned about this. Looks like you have some concerns about this. Anything else? You know, review those with them and then dive in, solve 1 or 2. It just locks the key on your engagement. Okay, you've won this client. Topic 4, if you go to page 7, I've added help with spouses' emails. We get this all the time. What do I do with my spouse's emails? What do I do with my spouse's smartphone? What do I do with my spouse's, this or that? And I've tried to address those in this edition. So help with spouse's emails, little blurb on that. And topic 5 is about my spouse's estate. I really expanded this through some illustrations, some charts, some graphs. It's so important. And we had a breakout session, the last Coach's Corner. In our breakout session that I was in, the question was, are you doing this? Are you talking about your spouse's estate? You know, does your client understand what's hers, what's his, right? Or vice versa, depending on who you're working with, right? And what's theirs? And are they in a, community property state? And, laying that foundation, because we touch on it throughout the guidebook. So it's really important to not skip over this because it's going to keep haunting you throughout the rest of the sessions. And so I've spent a lot more time trying to capture the essence of that conversation in just a few pages, okay? But it's worth spending some time on that, pages 8 through 14, topic 5, before you move on to the other sessions, okay? That's it for session 1. Session 2, I'm not going to go through every page and every change. In topic 1 around credit, there's some minimal changes. Most of that stayed the same. I get asked a lot, about homework, like there's this section around the things you can do to protect yourself against identity theft. I'm not looking at my book, so I'm looking at the slide, but there's all those little blocks. Like, are we supposed to, I've been asked, are we supposed to go through there and go through all that with them? And it's like, no, that would take forever. Ask them though, say, hey, before we meet again, because it comes at the end, why don't you read through this and circle 5, right? That's sort of the assignment. Find 5 things you can do right now to keep yourself safer than you are today. And it makes it fun for them. It's not really homework, right? But it is. So, but it makes it kind of fun. And then you could start up when you get with them next time. Well, which ones did you choose, and just kind of see what they did. Anyway, so session 2, topic 1, credit, minimal changes. Topic 2, my important documents. I did pages 42 through 43. I did add the table, how long to keep documents. Some of this document information was back in an appendix. And basically what I did, if one of the recommendations from my coach helpers was, hey, if it's good enough to be in an appendix, maybe you could cut down on the volume of the book, right? It just went to 255 pages. Maybe you could cut down on the volume of the book and incorporate that in the content of the book. So I did. So I added that table up front under important documents. I get asked all the time, well, how long should we keep these documents? So pretty good table there for you. Also topic 2, page 47, cancel recurring memberships, prescriptions, subscriptions added. I was looking at this and just doing a little bit of math. It's amazing how much stuff out there. Looking at my own budget on all the stuff that's recurring and all the stuff that costs us money. That if I lost my spouse, what would I get rid of? It's like so much stuff that I don't need or would cancel because my wife is gone. So I added that, and I think it's important to just make a note of that, and it's in the checklist. Page 48, changing utility accounts, brand new. It's not something that we talked about, but it is one of those first things you ought to do. And there's kind of a methodology to changing over the utility accounts to their name. Some utilities will do that. Some will make you close the account under the spouse's name and open up a new one in your name, which is not a big deal, but it's just another thing to add to their list. So changing utilities, page 51, what do I do with my spouse's passwords? Here we go again. And page 52, what do I do with my spouse's smartphone? So those have been added, those sections. Okay, that's session 2. Stay on schedule here, session 3. Topic 1, claiming benefits, a lot of edits. Try to just update areas, especially under employer benefits. I went ahead and described every one of those benefits. I used to just list them, pages 60 through 68. Now I've actually spelled out what are the benefits, so that when you ask about something, if a client were to ask about an employer benefit, she actually knows what she's asking about. So I expanded that. Topic 2, managing my money flow. I brought all the inherited spouse IRA post-secure act information. It used to be an appendix. I brought all that in. There's a lot there. And the way that laws change, it's, I'm afraid it's going to change, just as quickly as the IRA age changed, right? So, as far as I know, that those laws have not changed. I think we're still good on inherited spouse IRAs and all of those options. You see anything there? If you're an IRA or Roth conversion expert, you see anything wrong, please let me know. Also, page 94, I added mortgage considerations. I thought this was really important because, as you know, one of the first thoughts, right, of someone who loses a spouse, particularly, right, the breadwinner, is what am I going to do? What income do I have to pay the mortgage, right? It's probably their largest expense. So I wanted to add some guidelines around mortgage considerations. Gives them some options, some things to talk about, some things to ask you about, but just a little bit more information there on page 94. And then emergency fund, it was an appendix. I moved it up to this topic 2, page 99. Okay, nothing new around emergency funds. Everyone should have one, right? But not always possible. But that's all addressed in topic 2. Topic 3, understanding my banking, lots of edits, additions, updates, especially again, under using a state checking account, that's page 105. Again, ties back. Remember I said, if you don't talk about it in session 1, it'll come back and haunt you. This is just one of those obvious places. If you're going to set up an estate checking account, you need an EIN. How do you get that? IRS, blah, blah, blah. So that's all here in topic 3. And topic 4, understanding my investments. I updated the tables. I think I did update some expected returns. Yes, I know they change. Try to provide a large enough range to kind of capture expected returns for some of the asset classes. But that's where I've added the inherited tables and added the inherited Roth account information. That's where you'll find that, understanding my investments. I could have had the Roth under when we first introduced rollovers and IRAs, but I broke it up so it wasn't too much at one time. So it's under my investments. If as you're doing it, you want to cover any inherited Roths, well, you know where it is, just flip down to session 3 and nail it at the same time. It's up to you. That's why that's a great example of why it's so important to know this guidebook, right? I know we're going to talk about it in session 3, but I'm already on that subject. I'm just going to talk about it now. So what do? You dig in, you tell the client, turn to page 129, and you go through that together. Hey, we're going to talk about your inherited Roth IRA. Here's all the information, but let's go through that. Getting into the book with your client is so important. Session 4, topic 1, taking ownership of my assets. I really expanded the whole real estate piece, because of community property states. For one, I try to ignore most of that. We're all aware that those states offer a slightly different take at times, but I've expanded around real estate and really expanded around vehicles with scenarios, pages 138 and 140. I don't know that, I mean, there's no place on the internet where you can go look for that. This is my own understanding. If you don't, when you review that, because here's what happens, right? What do I do with my husband's car or my wife's car? I don't need 3 cars. What do I do with those assets? What does that mean? It brings you right back to the probate estate, right? The estate question. Well, are we going to need to sell them to pay the creditors? I mean, you can't just sell the cars, right, and pocket the money unless they're titled in your name or they're jointly titled. But what if the vehicle's titled in the spouse's name, the decedent's name? So I try to create some various scenarios on what you might want to do with the vehicle. And if you read through those, hopefully that'll be helpful to you and hopefully to our clients, because that seems to come up a lot. And I expanded on my digital assets, added a whole lot more. Thank you very much, pandemic, for giving us so many other places to spend our money online. My list tripled, what I used to have. So that's pages 142, 144. And of course, there's plenty of room for adding additional. Topic 2, understanding my taxes. I just added a little bit there under estate taxes and property taxes. And then topic 3, I expanded around Medicare, pages 160 to 162. And then again, my auto insurance, I added what do I do with my spouse's cars, 168, 169, again, some other edits. So really, again, around what do I do with my spouse's stuff, right? And again, this is if it's titled in that name. Topic 4 is so important. Again, this is session 4. I mean, there's a lot here, right? That's why I keep saying, look at if session 4 runs into session 5, then just make it happen because there's a lot here. And so topic 4, protecting my estate and family. I mean, you could spend a whole session just on that. And then topic 5, managing my household, just some minor edits there. But again, every checklist at the end of every one of these topics has been updated, and I like them better. I think they're more, they reflect all the new additions, but I think they're also worded perhaps a little better. Okay. And last on this, I mentioned the glossaries added 196 through 233. That's where the bulk of the extra pages came in. But when you're not there, we've had folks suggest a glossary before. I tried to include an index, but it's too hard. It's just too hard to do through Amazon. So no index this year, but I worked very hard on it. I had an index, but I just couldn't get it into the book. But the glossary is there. It's very complete. I think if you see anything, there, but just, let me know. But just when you're trying to avoid jargon, you can always refer the client back to the glossary, right? I'll just know that that's there, so you don't have to explain everything. And then again, the revised appendices. There's a lot of client forms back there for record keeping. List your utilities, list your insurance companies, list your banking companies, right? So look at those appendices, know what forms are there. That's all in the appendices now. And then one of the coaches suggested, we're always asked, how do you find the right financial advisor? So I included a section in there I wrote around selecting the right financial advisor. Okay. So that's the second edition. And to keep on track, I wish we could take questions and have more discussion, but I think that gets you into the book. Sees it's pretty hardy. There's a lot there. I encourage you to read it before your next client. And if you have any questions along the way, you can always reach out to Andrea or myself. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Andrea.
Yeah, and we have gotten a couple questions, Chris, that I'm going to make sure that they get to you just regarding that last section. Not much, but a couple.
I see.
All right, so
Thanks.
Chris mentioned that we have a very robust intranet site with resources for you. And where you find it is you go to wingsforwidows.org and you go to the very, very bottom, like you cannot scroll down any further. And there you will see it. And that's bottom thing called Coach Resources. And you click on that. And literally, you have every kind of budgeting tool. A lot of the forms, it looks like from the guidebook, you have FPP forms, you have FPA forms. Sometimes I'll read your outcome reports and you'll say, well, you created your own fill in the blank form. And I'll ask myself, I wonder if they know that there are forms just like that you don't need to create by going to that part of the website. So I'd really encourage you, some of it's Wings for Widows specific, and others is just more general to the industry, but please don't reinvent the wheel if you don't have to, because those resources are there for you on our website. Next, please. We also wanted to just cover this one other time. We talked about it last time, but I know not everyone was there. When we first started Wings for Widows, and even up until fairly recently, we had a firm policy that this is not a client acquisition program for our coaches, that there is a hard line. There is no solicitation by the financial coach that works for Wings for Widows. In fact, we will not, under any circumstances in the past, enter into a paid relationship with the pro bono client. However, as time passed, there were occasions, not the norm, but occasions where the client in their best interest said, I like this coach. I want to keep working with this coach. Why can't I keep working with? I trust them. They know me. We've spent hours together. And so we have evolved our policy, as you see here, that in the case where a client solicits you and it's entirely initiated by the client and not you, in those circumstances, those occasions, it is allowable for you to take on that client as your personal client. Again, as long as they solicited it of you, and as long as the engagement with Wings for Widows is entirely and completely ended before that relationship with you moves forward. How do we know it's ended? Because the outcome report has been submitted. We've officially closed them down as a client on our Wings records, and that is that. So I hope that that is clear, and we really hope that it's a more realistic policy. And honestly, I feel that it is one that serves those few clients that do indeed want to move forward. In fact, I've been surprised as a paraplanner in the past. They'll even ask me in the very first session, if I like my coach, can I hire him? I mean, this would even come up in that very first conversation. And the paraplanners know to say exactly this. We will not solicit your business. This is probably not the time to be talking about that. But if when you're done, you feel strongly that this is a coach you want to move forward with after the engagement is entirely completed, and if you want to solicit that coach's ongoing relationship, that would be something that is up to you. Did I say that this all fairly and accurately, Chris?
Yep, sounded good to me. And
Okay,
I think it's a fair policy. And like you said, Wings for Widows, the coaching, when the coaching's done, well, you know how to get a hold of each other. And if it's going to work, it's going to work. I always, advise coaches, you wouldn't want to say yes the first session anyway. You don't know who you're working with. I mean, get
No.
to know your client. Maybe by session 4, you realize, hey, this is somebody I'd really like to work with too. So if you are solicited, well, you've got an answer ready. But yeah, that's how that works. So great, thanks. All right, we're going to just talk about some additional opportunities. We all appreciate the coaching that you do, but many of you have asked, and many of you do other things for Wings for Widows. We named, a few names already. So there are many ways to get further involved with us. In fact, just today, I did see that David McCary is on, and I was glad because just today I met with the CEO of a company called Hear Me. Hear Me is an application, peer-to-peer counseling, and that introduction was made through David McCary, and he just thought we should meet. And it turns out it was a wonderful conversation. We have another meeting already scheduled next week, and they have an app that I believe would be fantastic for us to work with them on, for peer-to-peer, empathetic listening. That's what this app does. So, widow to widow, really super cool stuff. So David, thank you. Shout out to you, man. So, who do you know? Who is in your universe, your circle of influence that could help Wings for Widows, the nonprofit you've chosen to serve and to volunteer for? So I ask you all, if you have widowed, if you know someone, please let us know, make the introductions. And I was also thinking, if you have widowed clients, do they know about us? We have a private Facebook group. We have resources. We have ongoing opportunities for widowed persons. When I mean widowed, right? Widowed persons, men and women. So, you might introduce them to Wings for Widows. So, provide testimonial videos, host or co-host a webinar. I know Daphne's on tonight. Daphne and I co-hosted the last webinar we had earlier this month and had a ball doing that. It was a lot more fun than me having to do it alone. If you have a great story, share that with us. Guidebook reviews we mentioned, and then one thought I had, because I'm working quite a bit with the FPA now nationally, is that share what we do, financial planning for widowed clients, with your firm. Have them invite me to come speak to your group or your branch or your FPA chapter if you're a member, right? Again, right, we'll take donations from anyone. So just wanted to just mention this a little bit more. Storytelling is powerful, as you know. We use it on Facebook, Instagram, website, newsletters. What we're trying to do is find coach and clients who have just had wonderful experience together and want to share that. So what we're offering is basically a short 5-question script. We like to have the coach on camera. The client has an option of audio only if she's or he is bashful and they don't want to be seen, or both. And the idea is that the videos we put together, it's client and coach kind of talking about their experience. There's just a few questions, and I do all this with them. It takes about 30 minutes with each person, the coach and the client, via Zoom, and you get a chance to see the final product. And we've had a couple of folks step forward, but just know, if you have a great experience with a client and you think, hey, this is the client that would really like to tell the story, let Andrea know, okay? And then she'll put you in touch with me and we can move forward.
And
So
in
that's one.
fact, some of you have in the outcome report, that's the other thing I love about the outcome report, is we ask you, is this a testimoniable client? And some of you are going, yeah, I think she kind of could be. And we're not ignoring those. It's just been kind of a busy first 2 months of me being in the role, but we are saving those. And the outcome report is one of the easiest ways for you to kind of raise your hand and say, yeah, this was a cool story. And if she's articulate, that's just so much the better, but that's certainly not a requirement.
Exactly. Another way, help us lead a webinar. Like I said, we give this Take Charge of Me. It's a very new widowed person webinar. It's all PowerPoint. It's all scripted. It's It's not hard at all. It's all there for you. All you have to do is show up and join me, or if we can get a couple of different, what I'm trying to do is build a little pool of coaches so that we all don't have to, one person doesn't have to give it every month, but it's every month. It's the first Thursday generally of every month. And it's called Take Charge of Me. Very, very new widowed persons. If you've got your cameras handy, you can shoot that QR code and take a look at Take Charge of Me. It's brand new this year. And if you're interested in hosting or presenting with me or with Daphne or anyone else, just let me know. Okay, or Andrea. So that's another way. And then if you've got a great story, boy, let us know. And again, Andrea already alluded to this, where you can share that in the outcome report. But if you've not read this story, I don't know if Andrea, if you even had a chance to send this out. I think this came out in January, maybe it was late January or early February. It's called Maria's Story, and the Foundation for Financial Planning posted it, and it stars our very own Don, and I'm gonna screw this up. I always mess up his last name. I should know it, right? Q? Correct me, Don, if I'm wrong. I know you're on, so you're probably mad at me. But Don's story, working with Maria and her son, is an incredible story. If you've got a story to share with us, let us know. We share our stories with the Foundation of Financial Planning. They ask us, and that's how this came to be, this particular story. So if you've not read Don's story, shoot this real quick. We'll send you a copy. Somebody asked, yeah, we'll get you a copy of the whole deck, and you can shoot it then if you don't have your phone handy, but it's a great story. Thanks, Andrea.
Okay, so last slide, and I'm glad we're ending on time. Just final things, we do have a Volunteer Coach of the Year award based on just exceptional service above and beyond what all of you are doing now. The winner this past year is Grant Meyer. I don't believe he's on the call tonight, and they do receive recognition and a plaque. Several others of you who are on this call, I believe, were nominated this past year. We're very grateful for your work above and beyond. One of the things that Chris believes in, and I totally see why, is, let's get ahead of some of the stuff. It breaks my heart when I hear about widows who are left with surprises, not much, thought they had this, no, they have that. Why isn't this stuff being dealt with? As Chris likes to say, every marriage ends in one of two ways. It's either through death, or if you're successful, it's through death. If not, it's through divorce, but it ends in one of two ways. So one of you is, if you stay together, one of you is going to be ending up surviving. And why can't we get ahead of this and do the tasks that are necessary in the planning? And so feel free to attend that workshop. It's actually a really interesting workshop. And then we do have our coming up Coaches Corners quarterly. Again, just 1 hour. I am very committed to keeping it on time. And in addition to just content updates, I'd really like to do a little bit more on maybe some widow sensitivity. I've had coaches say to me, just how I haven't worked with a lot of widows, or maybe you have. What's the best way to have this conversation? What are some of the things that I should do's and don'ts not do, and just ways that I can be more sensitive to this particular population? So we want to have some of that more incorporated, more the interpersonal side, as well as kind of dispelling myths about widows. The average widow is 84. Not true. It's 59. Shouldn't make any major changes year one. Well, sometimes that's not realistic. It needs to be done. So just kind of busting some of those widow myths and just really digging deep into the mind and psyche of this so important and so vulnerable client that we have and that we're serving. The last thing I'd like to do before sending you off and saying thank you again is introduce Dana Ferguson. Dana is actually the one who does a lot of the work and getting back to people with different forms and things that they need. So Dana, if you could kind of turn your camera on so people can get a look at who you are. Why don't you talk so you jump and everyone see her?
They should be able to, and I know I've communicated with a lot or most of you through email, and I always look forward to hearing from you, and thank you for being here tonight.
So Dana, thank you. Dana does so much work behind the scenes, and frankly, I don't know what we do without her. So anyway, thanks you guys. We have gotten some questions. We will send out this deck. We will address the questions. And again, just so grateful for the wonderful work you're doing. You've already brought me to tears just in the first 2 months, and I'm not a crier, but some of the stuff that you guys have done has actually moved me to tears. So again, thank you. And we're here for you. So thanks for your time and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.